The throne room of the Xylar Dominion was vast and cold, stretching high into the crystalline ceiling where lights danced like distant stars. Queen Xyrella sat at the center, her form towering and elegant, draped in robes that shimmered with living energy. Her eyes, sharp as knives, and glowing with a pale blue light, scanned the council gathered before her. The chamber was silent, except for the low hum of power running through the walls. This silence, however, shattered when her advisor, a nervous elder named Virik, stepped forward, clutching a hollow scroll. "Your Majesty," Virik began, his voice trembling, "we have received word. Your daughter, Princess Lyra, is carrying a child."
Xyrella's eyes narrowed.
"Continue!" she commanded, her voice like thunder. "The father," Virik said slowly, "is a human." Captain Adrian Cole. For a moment, the Queen said nothing. Her mind raced, a storm of fury and disbelief. The word human burned in her ears. Humans were primitive, chaotic, unpredictable. They were weak, incapable of understanding the discipline and order of the Xylar Dominion. And yet, her daughter, her precious daughter, was carrying one. Xyrella rose from her throne, her presence filling the chamber like a tidal wave. Her voice, sharp and unyielding, cut through the air. "A human? My daughter? Do you realize the insult this carries?" Virik bowed deeply, avoiding her gaze.
"We understand the implications, Your Majesty, but the bond is already evident."
The word alone stoked the Queen's fury. The council murmured among themselves, their faces masks of anxiety and apprehension. Some of them had long feared that the Queen's rule, while ironclad, was inflexible. Now they realized that even her authority could be challenged, not by rebellion, but by a human. Xyrella's gaze swept the room, and for the first time, the council felt the sting of fear. "I want every detail of this human, every mission, every report. He will not bring shame to my house without consequence." Word of the news spread quickly through the halls of the palace, reaching even the servants and soldiers who scurried through the labyrinthine corridors. Princess Lyra, pale but resolute, appeared at the Queen's side. Her long silver hair framed her face, which was calm yet defiant. "Mother," Lyra said softly, "he is not what you think. Adrian is brave, intelligent, loyal. He has risked his life countless times for our people, for me." Xyrella turned sharply, her eyes narrowing on her daughter. "Dead."
"You speak of loyalty while carrying the spawn of a human. Do you not see the shame this brings?"
"I see the truth, Mother," Lyra replied, stepping closer. "Humans are different, yes, but they are not weak. They survive against impossible odds, adapt when nothing else can. Adrian is human, but he is also remarkable." The Queen's lips curled into a thin, dangerous line. "You believe your judgment superior to mine, child?" "No," Lyra said firmly. "I believe in him, and I will protect him no matter the cost." A hush fell over the chamber. For a moment, Xyrella's fury burned brighter than ever, but beneath it, a flicker of curiosity emerged. Humans were unpredictable, yes, but perhaps there was something she had never understood about them. Virik stepped forward again. "Your Majesty," he said, cautiously, "it is our recommendation that the human prove his worth. If he can survive the trials of the Dominion, then perhaps—"
"Then perhaps he may be accepted." Xyrella considered this, her glowing eyes narrowing.
"Trials," she repeated slowly. "Yes, he will prove his worth. Or he will die." The next day, Captain Adrian Cole was brought before the Queen. He was human, yes, but tall, broad-shouldered, and carrying the calm confidence of someone who had faced death and survived. He did not bow deeply, as many aliens would have expected. Instead, he stood straight, meeting Xyrella's gaze without fear.
"I am Adrian Cole," he said in clear, unwavering tones. I am here to answer for my actions and to protect Princess Lyra.
I do not fear the trials you propose. The Queen's fury flared at his insolence. No human had ever spoken to her with such defiance. Bold words for a creature of your kind, she hissed. Do you understand what you face? The trials will test your mind, your body, and your very spirit. Many have entered. None have survived. Do not presume to stand here and claim courage. I understand, but I do not fear impossible odds. I have survived worse than what you can offer, Your Majesty. The council shifted uneasily. Even seasoned Xylar officers whispered among themselves. Humans were unpredictable, yes, but perhaps there was a strength here that the Queen had underestimated. Xyrella waved her hand, and a holographic arena appeared in the center of the chamber. The air shimmered with energy, showing a gauntlet of challenges designed to crush even the strongest aliens. It included floating platforms over lethal void pits, psychic tests that invaded the mind, and genetically engineered beasts that could tear a creature apart in seconds. You will enter the arena tomorrow, Xyrella declared. Your performance will determine your fate and the fate of my daughter's child. Fail, and you die. Succeed, and perhaps you earn the right to live among us. That night, Adrian prepared himself. Lyra visited him in the holding quarters, a small, private chamber with a view of the city lights far below. Adrian, she said softly, you must remember, they will expect you to fail. The trials are designed to break even the strongest Xylar warrior. You will need more than courage. You will need wit, agility, and instinct. Adrian smiled faintly. I've never met a challenge I couldn't face, he said. And I've never met anyone like you either, Lyra. We'll get through this together. Lyra touched his hand gently, her silver hair catching the dim light. Just don't let them see fear. They can smell it, even through walls. The next day, the arena was filled with spectators, soldiers, advisors, and the Queen herself, hovering in her throne above the chamber. Adrian stepped onto the first platform, a floating disc over a pit of spinning energy blades. The platform shifted beneath him, testing his balance and reflexes. The blades snapped past, sending shards of light into the air. Adrian leaped, rolled, and adapted. He used the environment in ways the aliens had never expected, using his body's momentum and the shifting platforms to his advantage. Gasps echoed through the arena as he moved with precision and daring. Next came the psychic test, a chamber filled with illusions designed to trap the mind in a loop of fear and doubt. Adrian closed his eyes, breathing steadily, and focused on the present. He ignored the hallucinations of endless falls, monstrous creatures, and whispers of death. His human mind, capable of rapid adaptation and lateral thinking, broke the illusions, moving forward while aliens watching struggled to comprehend his resilience. Finally, the genetically engineered beast appeared, a massive creature with claws sharp as swords, eyes glowing with malice. The beast lunged at Adrian. He dodged, using quick reflexes, leaping across walls and swinging from energy conduits. In a move no alien expected, he used the beast's momentum against it, flipping over its back and incapacitating it without killing it. The audience was stunned. Humans were supposed to die in such situations. Xyrella's eyes widened. But beneath it, she felt a grudging respect. The human had survived challenges designed to break her own soldiers, the council whispered nervously, acknowledging something extraordinary in his skill and adaptability. As the trials ended, Adrian stood victorious, breathing heavily but unbowed. Lyra rushed to him, relief shining in her eyes. You did it, she said, voice trembling. Adrian smiled faintly. I told you, I don't fear impossible odds. Xyrella rose from her throne, her voice cold but tinged with a hint of something else. Curiosity, perhaps even admiration. This human is unlike any I have known, she said. He has survived where my finest warriors failed. Perhaps he is worthy of my daughter's hand. Perhaps. But even as she spoke, a shadow crossed her face. The trials had ended, yes, but survival was only the beginning. The humans' unpredictability, their resilience, their courage. It was both a threat and a promise. And Queen Zarella, for the first time in her long reign, realized that this human might not just survive. He might change everything. The arena was silent after Adrian's victory, but the calm was only temporary. Word of a human surviving the Queen's impossible trials spread quickly throughout the palace, reaching even the outer corridors, where soldiers whispered in disbelief. Many had always viewed humans as inferior, fragile, and chaotic. Yet here was one, standing alive, victorious, and unbowed, proving them wrong. Queen Zarella's fury had not faded. It had evolved. It was no longer simply anger at the audacity of her daughter. It was now a burning need to test the human further, to crush his spirit in ways the trials could not. She would not allow a mere human to embarrass the Dominion without proving themselves even more. The next morning, Adrian was summoned to the council chamber. The floor was alive with holographic maps and schematics of strange devices and alien landscapes. Zarella's voice echoed through the room. "You survived my arena," she said coldly, her glowing eyes scanning him. "But survival alone does not earn respect in the Dominion. Humans are unpredictable, and unpredictability is dangerous.
You will face the second trial, a test not of strength or skill, but of strategy and mind. You must lead a mission into the Veil Expanse, a sector of space abandoned after countless alien failures. You will encounter unknown threats. If you succeed, I may begin to reconsider my view of your kind. Fail, and your child may never see light." "I accept the mission," he said simply. His voice carried confidence, the kind born of years of facing impossible odds on human ships across hostile worlds. The council buzzed with whispers. No human had ever been trusted with a Veil Expanse mission, and many doubted he would return alive. The Expanse was known for strange gravitational anomalies, deadly radiation storms, and predators unlike any other. Ships sent in by the Dominion had vanished without a trace. As Adrian prepared, Princess Lyra met him in the strategy room. The room was filled with star charts, holographic projections of alien technology, and floating schematics of unknown worlds.
"You must understand," she said, her voice urgent. "The Veil Expanse is not like anything humans are used to, but your ingenuity—"
"It might be the only thing that can survive there. You have to think differently, not just bravely." Adrian studied the maps, running his fingers over alien symbols.
"I've faced worse," he said.
"I've led humans into the depths of dying stars, navigated collapsing space stations, survived mutinies, and even evaded warlords. I can handle this."
Lyra nodded, though concern lingered in her eyes.
"We must trust in each other. I can guide you through some of the alien systems, but most will be beyond my control once you're out there. The Dominion assumes humans cannot survive their chaos."
"But maybe that's exactly why we can?"
The mission began aboard a sleek Dominion craft, retrofitted with human technology at Adrian's suggestion. He had insisted on modifications: manual overrides, flexible thrusters, and adaptive shields. The crew, a mix of alien soldiers and human engineers, looked to him for guidance, though many doubted his strategies. "Steady, all of you," Adrian said.
"Expect the unexpected. And remember,
humans survive by thinking differently, not by following rules." The journey into the Veil Expanse began. The stars outside the viewports warped as the ship passed through the first anomaly, a gravitational rift that twisted space like melted glass. Aliens aboard gasped as instruments went haywire, but Adrian kept his composure. He manually adjusted the trajectory, using the ship's thrusters in unconventional angles. The ship shuddered, but held together. Hours passed as they navigated the treacherous anomalies. Radiation storms tore at the hull, threatening to fry critical systems. Alien crew members panicked, shouting orders, but Adrian remained calm, issuing precise commands and using his human intuition to anticipate shifts in the energy fields. Then came the first predator. It was a massive creature, semi-transparent, with tendrils that could pierce armor and scrape through steel. The crew froze in fear, but Adrian acted instinctively. He calculated the creature's movement, guiding the ship in a sharp, unexpected arc that caused it to crash into a floating debris field. When the tendrils recoiled, the crew realized the human had outsmarted a predator that had ended many Dominion ships. Lyra, monitoring from the ship's secondary console, could not hide her astonishment. "I've never seen anything like this," she whispered. "Ease. Brilliant." The journey continued, and with each obstacle, Adrian's methods confounded the aliens. Where they relied on rigid patterns, he relied on improvisation. Where they panicked, he remained calm. He transformed fear into strategy, improvising traps, evasive maneuvers, and defensive shields that leveraged the Expanse's own anomalies against threats. Days passed, and tensions grew. The alien crew began to question their own training, admiring the humans' creativity while struggling with their own rigid instincts. Even seasoned commanders were forced to follow Adrian's lead, sometimes in silence, sometimes reluctantly. But the Expanse held its deadliest challenge yet. A colossal storm, a swirling vortex of energy and debris blocked their path. Ships had been destroyed here before. Communication was nearly impossible. Navigation systems failed, and gravity waves threatened to crush the vessel. "Steady," Adrian said, voice calm but firm. "We're going to ride the waves, not fight them. Follow my lead, or we won't make it." He took manual control, guiding the ship with unorthodox precision. The hull groaned as energy arcs struck the shields. Crew members screamed in terror, but Adrian's hands moved decisively over controls, adjusting angles, speed, and trajectory with perfect timing. The ship weaved through the storm like a living thing, defying every expectation. When the storm finally passed, the ship emerged battered but intact. The crew looked at Adrian with a mixture of relief, awe, and disbelief. He had led them through a region no alien had ever survived, relying on quick thinking, instinct, and human determination as they approached the mission's final objective, a derelict research station floating in the Expanse. Adrian detected something unexpected. Alien council sensors had not revealed the station's condition. It was overrun by a rogue AI, a remnant of experiments long abandoned. Security drones patrolled, and the systems were booby-trapped. Most humans would have been overwhelmed, and most aliens would have fled. Adrian studied the station from the viewport. "We do this smart," he said. "We use their own defenses against them. Patience, timing, and unpredictability. That's how humans survive impossible odds." Using a combination of Lyra's guidance and his own intuition, he led the crew inside. Drones charged, lasers fired, traps activated. But Adrian's improvisation turned each threat into an advantage. Drones became shields, lasers reflected to neutralize other defenses, and the AI itself was tricked into triggering its own security protocols. Hours later, they reached the core of the station and retrieved the information Xyrella had demanded. Adrian had not only survived, but also acquired knowledge that could strengthen the Dominion's fleets. When the crew returned to the throne world, Xyrella was waiting. A chamber filled with tension as Adrian and his team landed. Soldiers and council members watched silently, expecting some sign of failure, but Adrian stepped forward, calm, victorious, and unbowed. Queen Xyrella's glowing eyes narrowed, scanning him.
"You have returned," she said, her voice low, dangerous.
"Against impossible odds, you have survived. You have, even, succeeded where my own warriors failed." Adrian bowed slightly, not in submission, but in respect. I did what had to be done, Your Majesty. The humans survive by adapting, by finding solutions others overlook. We are capable, even in your most dangerous trials. The council murmured, some admiring, others still skeptical. But the Queen's expression had shifted. Respect, grudging and slow, began to replace the initial fury. She had underestimated the human, and the consequences of that mistake were clear.
"You are remarkable," she said, almost reluctantly. "Perhaps there is more to your kind than I believed."
Yet, her eyes flashed with renewed intensity. Do not think your victories grant you comfort. The trials have only begun. If the next challenge fails, there will be no mercy. Adrian nodded. I understand, but I will do what must be done to protect Lyra and the life she carries. You've already done more than anyone expected, she whispered. You've survived the expanse, and you've shown them what humans can do. Adrian looked at her, a faint smile on his lips. This is just the beginning. They may test us, but humans, we find ways to survive. Always. Amore watched silently from her throne, her fury tempered but not gone. Humans were unpredictable, dangerous, and impressive. She would need to reconsider her assumptions. And for the first time in centuries, the Queen wondered if perhaps humanity could not only survive, but also change the balance of power in the Dominion forever. After returning from the Veil Expanse, Adrian's reputation had grown beyond anything he could have imagined. Whispers followed him through the halls of the Xylar Dominion. Soldiers spoke of the human who had survived impossible trials, conquered deadly anomalies, and outsmarted machines meant to kill. Some marveled at his courage. Others feared it. Yet Adrian knew that survival was only the first step. There were deeper dangers within the Dominion, threats that no one had seen coming. He had barely slept the night after their return when he noticed subtle anomalies in the palace systems. Communications were rerouted, files disappeared, and certain council members avoided direct questions. It was unusual even for the rigid and secretive Xylar hierarchy. Adrian's instincts, honed over years of navigating hostile human politics and alien terrains, sensed a hidden agenda. In the quiet of his quarters, he accessed the palace network with the help of Lyra. The princess had learned much from him about human methods, tactics, improvisation, and lateral thinking. Using her knowledge of Xylar systems, they uncovered encrypted communications that revealed a plot. Some members of the council were planning to overthrow Queen Zarella. The pregnancy of Lyra and the presence of a human had become their distraction, a convenient scandal to mask their ambitions. Adrian frowned. They're using us as a cover, he said, his voice low but firm. If Zarella discovers this the wrong way, it could destroy everything. The human's presence, and the child.
Are bigger than anyone realizes. We need to act carefully.
Lyra nodded, her expression tense. I've always feared the Council's ambition. They respect my mother's power, but envy festers even among loyalists. If they succeed, there will be no mercy. Not for you, not for me, not for our child. The human's mind worked rapidly, analyzing possible outcomes. He understood the Dominion's strengths: military precision, advanced technology, and centuries of political experience. But he also understood their weaknesses: overconfidence, underestimation of humans, and rigid thinking that left them vulnerable to unpredictability. He smiled faintly, realizing the advantage humans had always held: adaptability. Their first move was subtle. Adrian and Lyra began spreading controlled misinformation, carefully planting seeds that suggested their own vulnerability, while observing which council members reacted. Each reaction revealed alliances, ambitions, and potential threats. Humans had always excelled in improvisation and subterfuge, and this was no different. The council gathered for the next assembly, unaware that their plans were already being observed and countered. Zarella presided, her presence formidable. Yet even she noticed the unusual calm in Adrian's demeanor. It was unsettling. "You have returned from the expanse," she said, her voice cold. "And yet your eyes do not show fear. You smile, as if you know more than any of us." "I know what is necessary," Adrian replied calmly. "Sometimes survival is not about strength alone. Sometimes it is about understanding those who would act against you before they do." Even the most confident council members felt a subtle tension. Humans had always been unpredictable. But Adrian's intelligence and foresight unnerved even the seasoned Xylars. Over the next days, he orchestrated a series of maneuvers designed to expose the conspirators without provoking open conflict. He leaked false data suggesting weaknesses in the Queen's security, subtly encouraging the ambitious council members to act prematurely. Then he used observation and timing to catch them in their own schemes.
It began with a sabotage attempt on the palace defense grid.
A team of council loyalists tried to disable the system to stage a coup. Adrian, anticipating the move, rerouted the sabotage to a test area, capturing the conspirators' communications in real time. He had turned their plan against them without firing a single shot. Zarella observed everything from her throne, her glowing eyes narrowing. "This human, he is more than a survivor. He is a strategist, a predator in his own right." The realization was bitter, but undeniable. Adrian's methods were alien in their simplicity, yet brutally effective. He did not fight with overwhelming force. He used intellect, deception, and timing tools the Queen had never valued in the same way. Adrian didn't stop there. Using the Council's own networks, he planted evidence of rivalries among the conspirators. They began suspecting each other, spreading mistrust and paranoia. Meetings that were meant to consolidate power turned into whispered accusations, each council member carefully guarding their own motives. Meanwhile, Adrian worked closely with Lyra. She had gained insight into the palace systems and technology through him, and together they combined human intuition with Xylar knowledge.
The synergy was unprecedented.
Where alien soldiers relied on strict hierarchy, the humans moved fluidly, exploiting opportunities as they arose. One evening, as they monitored the palace network from a secure chamber, Lyra spoke quietly.
"You know, Adrian, my mother is watching more closely now."
"She can see that you're not just surviving. You're changing the game. Even she cannot ignore it." Adrian smiled faintly, leaning back. "Humans have always survived by doing what others cannot predict. We adapt, improvise, and act when the moment is right. That's why we endure, why we thrive, even in worlds that seem impossible." Days passed and the conspirators' plans unraveled. One by one they were exposed, caught in lies, contradictions, or premature attempts at power grabs. The Queen's wrath was swift but tempered by the undeniable results of Adrian's actions. The human had turned a potential crisis into a demonstration of skill and foresight. Xyrella summoned Adrian to her private chambers. The room was filled with shadows and the hum of energy from the palace core. She stood tall, regal, and yet her expression was unreadable. "You have done what no Xylar could have achieved," she said slowly. "You have protected my daughter, exposed the traitors, and yet you remain human. I cannot ignore this. You have qualities I did not expect: intelligence, courage, cunning, and loyalty." Adrian bowed slightly. "I serve because it is necessary. Not for glory, not for fear, but because it must be done. Humans act to survive, yes, but also to protect those they care for." Zarella's eyes softened slightly, though her pride remained. "And yet I wonder what will happen if your loyalty surpasses your survival instincts. Can a human truly serve a Xylar without ambition or error?" Adrian's gaze was steady.
I serve those I respect and protect. That is how humans operate.
It is not weakness. It is focus. We channel our instincts toward what matters. For the first time, the Queen considered the possibility that humans were not merely survivors or inferiors. They were something else entirely. Unpredictable, yes. Dangerous, yes. But effective in ways the Xylar could not imagine. Even as they spoke, news arrived of a new threat. A fleet of alien marauders, far beyond the Dominion's usual rivals, was approaching the throne world. The ships were massive, armed with weapons that could devastate entire cities. Most council members panicked, but Adrian's calm remained unshaken. They assume the Xylar hierarchy will respond with rigid tactics. We will respond differently. We will turn their assumptions against them. Lyra looked at him, awe in her eyes.
You really think we can stop them? Adrian nodded. Not just think.
I know. Humans survive impossible odds every day. We adapt. We improvise. And we fight with everything we have. That is our strength. As preparations began, Xyrella observed quietly. The human had not only survived the Veil Expanse and exposed a conspiracy, but had also demonstrated a vision that the Dominion had lacked for centuries. She could not deny it. Humans were unpredictable, yes, but perhaps they were exactly what the Dominion needed to face this new threat. The Queen made a decision. Let it be known, she said, her voice resonant and commanding, that Captain Adrian Cole is not merely tolerated, he is acknowledged. The human has proven that he is a force to be reckoned with. Let this be a lesson. Underestimation is dangerous. Humans are not weak. Adrian's eyes met hers, calm and unwavering. I do not seek to be acknowledged, Your Majesty. I seek only to survive, to protect, and to ensure that what is right is done. Humans thrive not by power alone, but by intelligence, courage, and heart. For the first time in centuries, Queen Xyrella felt a stirring she could not name. Respect? Admiration? Perhaps even fear. She had underestimated humans, and in doing so, had allowed one to demonstrate that they were more than mere mortals. They were a force that could challenge empires, turn conspiracies into opportunity, and survive even when all seemed lost. And as the fleet of marauders loomed closer, Adrian prepared. He had not only survived, he had gained allies, learned the enemy, and now held the advantage of unpredictability. Humanity, he knew, was strongest when it was underestimated. And soon, the Dominion, and perhaps the galaxy, would see exactly what that meant. The horizon of the throne world darkened with the shadows of the approaching fleet. Ships larger than any the Xylar Dominion had encountered before cut through the stars, their hulls bristling with weapons designed to obliterate entire cities. The council panicked, their whispers echoing fear throughout the palace. But Adrian remained calm. He had faced impossible odds before, and this was no different, except that now the stakes included not just survival, but the future of the Dominion itself. Queen Xyrella observed from her throne, her eyes glowing with intensity. She had seen humans survive the arena, conquer the Veil Expanse, and expose the conspirators within her own council. Now she saw the greatest test yet. Could this human, Captain Adrian Cole, guide her people against a threat unlike any they had ever known? She would not admit it aloud, but she felt a spark of hope, a rare feeling for a ruler of centuries. Adrian stood at the command deck, his gaze fixed on the approaching armada. The Xylar officers around him shifted uneasily, questioning his unconventional methods, but he ignored their doubt. He had a plan, and it relied on what humans did best: unpredictability, adaptability, and courage against impossible odds. "We can't match them in direct combat," Adrian said calmly, his voice carrying authority despite the tension.
They expect us to fight as the Dominion always fights. Rigid formations. Predictable maneuvers. We won't. We'll use what they cannot predict.
We'll turn their strength into weakness. Lyra, standing beside him, watched his movements.
What do you mean? She asked, anxiety and awe mixing in her voice. They rely on size, firepower, and intimidation, Adrian explained. We'll use the Expanse tactics. Rapid movement, improvisation, and terrain advantage. Human ships can adapt faster than theirs. We'll split them, confuse them, and strike where they are weakest. They won't expect it. The fleet entered the outer defense perimeter, and the first Sylar ships engaged in battle. Lasers tore across space, explosions lighting the void. Alien crews fought bravely, but many were unprepared for the scale and ferocity of the attack. Ships were disabled within minutes. Panic spread among the council members who watched from the palace, whispering fears of doom. Adrian moved quickly. Formation Delta, he called. Split and flank. Use the debris fields for cover. Engage only when we have advantage. Everyone, trust the plan and stay flexible. The human-led fleet darted among asteroid belts, using the chaos to confuse the larger Marauder ships. Explosions erupted as debris collided with enemy vessels, and smaller human craft struck from unexpected angles. Every move defied the traditional strategies of the Dominion, turning fear into opportunity. Zarella's eyes narrowed, but she did not interrupt. She watched as Adrian's tactics unfolded perfectly. The human's brilliance lay not in raw power, but in strategy. He anticipated enemy movements, redirected their forces against themselves, and minimized casualties among Xylar soldiers. Hours passed. Ships exploded, energy shields flared, and the battlefield became a swirling storm of light and destruction. But Adrian's fleet remained coordinated, moving as a single organism rather than separate units. He used every advantage: energy currents, gravitational anomalies, even enemy miscommunications. What seemed impossible became routine under his command. Then the Marauder flagship appeared, a massive vessel bristling with weapons that dwarfed the largest Xylar battleships. Its approach sent a wave of panic through the fleet. Traditional commanders would have faltered, but Adrian remained composed. "This is the heart of their fleet," he said. "We hit them where they're weakest, but we can't destroy them head-on. We'll use diversion. Lyra, guide the secondary fleet to the left channel. I'll take a small strike team through the debris corridor. We hit the flagship's engines, disable them, then collapse the field." Timing is everything. Lyra nodded, awestruck by his confidence. "I trust you," she said. "Lead us through." Adrian led the strike team, weaving through asteroid fields, avoiding energy blasts, and outmaneuvering enemy drones. The flagship's weapons fired relentlessly, but he anticipated every move, using the environment to shield his ships and strike where the Marauders least expected. Finally, they reached the engines. Adrian deployed charges with precise timing, while Lyra hacked into the flagship's systems to prevent automated defenses from activating. Within moments, the engines overloaded, sending shockwaves through the vessel. Explosions rocked the flagship, disabling its movement and leaving it vulnerable. From the central command, Adrian coordinated the rest of the fleet. The enemy ships, now leaderless and disoriented, were quickly surrounded and neutralized. The battle that had seemed impossible was turning in favor of the Dominion, led by a human captain whose creativity and courage had outmatched centuries of alien experience. When the dust settled, their surviving Marauder ships retreated, their fleet shattered. The Xylar soldiers erupted in cheers, their loyalty renewed by the unexpected brilliance of the human who had led them to victory. Even the council members who had doubted Adrian now bowed their heads, acknowledging the undeniable truth. Humans could achieve the impossible. Queen Zarella descended from her throne chamber, her presence commanding silence once more. She approached Adrian, her glowing eyes fixed on him. "You have done what no Xylar could have done," she said,
her voice a mixture of respect and lingering fury.
You have protected this world, preserved my people, and proven that humans are more than I believed.
Adrian inclined his head respectfully. I did what was necessary. Humans survive by adapting, by thinking differently, and by acting when the moment is right. That is our strength. We do not seek glory. We seek solutions and survival.
Lyra stepped forward, placing a hand on Adrian's arm. Mother, he has saved us all.
You cannot deny it. Humans are capable, intelligent, and brave.
Zarella studied her daughter and the human before her. Pride and anger warred within her, but the truth was undeniable.
You have changed something, she said quietly. Perhaps the galaxy must see what humans can do.
Perhaps they are not to be underestimated.
Adrian smiled faintly. That is all humans ask. Not reverence, but understanding.
Underestimate us and you will regret it. Respect us, and we can achieve things you never imagined.
The Queen nodded slowly. She turned to the council.
Let it be known, she declared, that Captain Adrian Cole is honored. Not merely as an ally, but as a symbol. Humans are not weak. They are formidable. And they will have a place in the Dominion. Celebrations followed, though quiet respect replaced the usual fanfare. Soldiers and officers acknowledged the human with awe and gratitude. Lyra embraced Adrian, tears of relief and pride in her eyes. Together they had faced the impossible, outwitted enemies, and survived threats that would have destroyed lesser beings. Yet the story was not just about victory in battle. It was about recognition. Humans had proven that courage, ingenuity, and adaptability could challenge centuries of tradition and hierarchy. Even Queen Zarella, the most powerful ruler in the Dominion, had to admit that the human mind and spirit were forces to be reckoned with. Weeks later, the Queen held a private ceremony. Adrian and Lyra stood before her, and the Queen's expression was solemn but approving. You have survived trials no one believed possible. You have defended this world, and you have proven that humanity is not to be dismissed, she said.
I bless your union and the life you carry. The future will remember this day.
Adrian bowed. Thank you, Your Majesty. I only did what any human would do to protect what matters most. Survival is nothing without purpose, and humans fight for purpose, for those they care for. Lyra smiled, resting a hand on her growing belly. And this child, she said softly, will grow up knowing that humans are more than anyone imagined, that courage and heart matter above all else. Queen Zarella studied them, a rare smile touching her features.
Then let the galaxy know humans are formidable, and perhaps one day the stars will change because of them.
Adrian and Lyra walked from the palace together, the weight of past trials lifting, replaced by hope for the future. The child growing within Lyra represented more than life. It symbolized alliance, understanding, and the untapped potential of humanity. The Xylar Dominion, once rigid and unyielding, had seen the strength of humans, their courage, ingenuity, and indomitable will. And as the stars stretched endlessly beyond the throne world, a quiet truth settled over the galaxy. Humans were no longer to be underestimated. And somewhere in the quiet of the palace, Queen Zarella pondered the future, realizing that the human who had defied death, strategy, and empire might just shape the destiny of the Dominion itself. The age of underestimating humanity was over.
The galaxy would never forget the name of Captain Adrian Cole.